G'day there guys, I want to speak to your manager. Back at it again with another episode of r/EntitledParents. Now if you enjoy today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy today's bloody Karen stories. Posted by user Sweet Baguette. Titled, Friend's Dad Tried to Steal My Bra. Claims that I stole it from his wife, and then friend finds the stash of her other friend's undergarments. So anyway, before we get into the story, my friend's dad was then divorced. Turns out he was a child predator with loads of CP on his laptop, and is in jail. And on top of that, had about 5 restraining orders after. The friends and the friends' parents he stole bras and panties from. Okay, how I found this out was at my friend's birthday sleepover. We were swimming in her pool, and we drank some wine coolers. With her mum's supervision, of course, but it's still illegal. But we didn't get drunk, just slightly tipsy. So anyway, friend's dad had a strict no locked doors policy. Anyway, I decided to take a shower, so I of course locked the door. I was bathing in my friend's bathroom, so I had her bedroom door shut and the bathroom door locked, if that makes sense. So I heard my friend's bedroom door open as I shouted, "Occupied," out of the shower. I got no response, except the door shutting quickly, which I thought was just one of the other girls walking in and seeing that I was in there. Anyway, I stepped out of the shower, and I stayed in the bathroom while I changed and dried off. All of a sudden, the bedroom door opens again, and when I say occupied, the person didn't stop and went straight for the bathroom door as they jiggled the handle extremely violently, and pounded on the door once. I stayed silent as I thought there was someone in the house trying to get to me. 10 seconds later, I hear her dad's voice yell, "Open this damn door right fudging now!" I'm already changing into clean clothes as I stayed silent and slowly opened the door. "Why the hell is this door locked?" he shouted as I apologized and explained I was showering and I wanted privacy, but he said that was no excuse. I pushed that aside, as I thought he was in a bad mood or something happened and he couldn't do anything because the door was locked. I stuffed my dirty clothes into my bag as I went back to the party, which we were all settling down with sleeping bags since the living room was big enough for us. I set my bag right next to me as I have some valuable stuff in the bag. Phone, charger, money, ID, etc. We watched movies up until 4 in the morning, which is when we started to go to sleep. I got a strange feeling about being watched, so I stayed up for another hour on my phone. I fell asleep, as about an hour later, I hear rustling next to my head. I opened my eyes to see my friend's dad squatting next to me, rumbling through my bag as he pulled out my dirty bra and underwear as he stood up. I screamed at the top of my lungs as everyone woke up. My stuff was everywhere as the friend's dad quickly dropped my stuff. I screamed, "What the frick are you doing?" at him, as everyone saw what he did and saw him drop my stuff. He tried to defend himself as his wife came rushing in. "I was making sure you didn't have any drugs," was the excuse that he went with. I ran over to the wife and explained what happened, as the dad was saying that I am a lying skank and that I forced him to hold my stuff. He was high or on crack or one of the other, as the husband was moved to a different room, and I explained to the friend what her dad did, and she told someone else, and I guess it spread around. Everyone was panicking, as they were all making sure the man didn't take their panties and bras. Then I heard the husband scream, "She stole your underwear!" And so I called the police. Then 10 seconds later, I hear the wife scream, as it was just a crap show. We all ran over to her to make sure she was alright, as everything started to go to chaos. Girls were crying and panicking because he had an area which his wife didn't know about, and there was name tags for each underwear pile like Cindy's underwear, fake name. And there was stains on one of them. The police arrived and we explained to them what had happened as he was taken away. About a few months later, I went to court as my parents were pressing charges, and I explained what happened, and we won the case. Then about another few months go by, and I was talking to my same friend, and she said her parents had gotten a divorce, and that her dad was in jail for CP and harassment. I have terrible spelling and grammar issues, as I'm not good, and typing in English, especially with longer stories like this. I type and speak French. Edit. I talked to the friend, and it turns out that her dad brought the wine coolers trying to get us drunk, and her mother saved us from who knows what because she cut us off from the wine coolers after like 2 drinks. Who knows what would have happened if we were all passed out drunk. Another edit. So I was talking again to the friend, and this is basically what happened after the court and was sent to jail. He's still in jail and was put into protective custody in the prison at the beginning because, and I quote, he screwed with little kids, so the prisoners are going to screw him even harder, but later was removed for trying to smuggle contraband. The other part is that his daughter, 16 now, went to visit him with her mother just to disown him as her father, and when he arrived at the little phone booth thing, she said that half his hair was pulled out. He was bruised, his uniform was dirty, with who knows what, and he could barely walk. It was the beatings he got, or other things, I'm not going to read that out. The rest of the girls there I don't really know, but I talked to a few of them about a month ago, and 12/13 is doing fine. The 13th one isn't bad, but isn't good. She has night terrors from it, and has a service dog to help. Posted by user SlenderN679. Titled, Entitled Mother Tells a Volunteer That He Is Fired. First of all, English isn't my first language, so expect some grammar errors, but feel free to point them out. So 2 or 3 years ago, I was 13, my school asked all the students if they wanted to do volunteering for a food bank, and I said yes. On the day that I did volunteering, I was alone with the teachers at the little stand that we had, while everyone else was at the entrances of the supermarket giving bags for the people to fill with food. The idea was for them to deliver the bags at the stand, but most people gave them to my friends in the entrances, so I had to go there from time to time to take them from the stands. We all had shirts saying that we were volunteers, but I had a jacket over it because it was cold. One of the times I went to one of the entrances, the shopping cart that I used to transport the bags was totally full, and when I was going back to the stand, Entitled Mother gets close to me with 2 full bags of food, and the conversation begins. Entitled Mother says, "Here, take them," giving me the bags, and I say, "Sorry, but my cart is full." "I don't care, take them." "Sorry, but I already told you that my cart is full. Leave the bags there with my Entitled Mother cuts me off and starts screaming, catching everyone's attention. "I know the manager of your company for a long time, so take my bags now or else I will get you fired." My friends who were close started laughing at her. Me, after reading many r/entitled parent stories, I knew where this was going. So I say, "Okay then, call him." She makes a fake call and says, "He says you're fired." Well, the problem is, I take off my jacket and show her my shirt saying volunteer with big letters on my back, and then I just walk away while everyone around laughs at her. Thank you for reading and have a nice day. Posted by user Let's Not Meet BB. Titled, Entitled Parents Think I Need to Give Up Everything so their daughters don't feel bad. Hey, so I have tons of stories from this family, and still live in the neighborhood, and honestly try to avoid her every second that I can. I'm 21 now, female, and her daughters are 23 and 21, 5 months younger than myself, respectively. We will call Entitled Mother Karen, daughter 23 Taylor, and 21 Caitlin, changed names. So they moved into the neighborhood when I was 3. Taylor was 4 or 5, and Caitlin was 3. And at first, I was friends with entitled daughters. They irritated me though. But, you know, that's life. And when there's kids to play with around your age in your neighborhood, you take it. Flash forward, and we are all in elementary school and have the same bus stop. There are about 8 to 10 kids at this stop, and it's always a race to be first in line. Now, entitled family is kind of a mess, and the daughters would always be sprinting up to the street while the rest of us tried to get the bus driver to wait for them. Late, as always. Didn't bother me though. So one day, entitled family gets to the bus stop a few minutes before the bus, and the rest of us kids are already in there in line. I happen to be the first that day, and am talking to another one of my friends at the stop who is second. Caitlin walks up to us and says, "Hi, can I cut you? I want to be first today." I say, "No, I'm first today. Maybe get here first tomorrow and you can be first tomorrow, I tell her. Caitlin starts crying and runs to her mother. I continue my conversation because this girl always cries and I just couldn't be bothered to care. Then, Karen walks up and says, "Excuse me, but Caitlin deserves to be first today. Let her go in front of you." No, I'm first. Well, Caitlin deserves it. She never gets to be the first, and so you should let her. It's only fair. No, she needs to get here first to be first. I told her maybe tomorrow she can be. Karen walks away with Caitlin, and I hear her telling her some Bible verse about the last shall be first, and how I'm going to hell for not sharing. That's just one incident. Here's another. This one featuring entitled dad, who we will call Dan. I'm playing with the same neighborhood friend from the line. Let's call her Sam. I'd say I'm 7 and she's 9 here. So Sam and I are playing a game in her driveway when Taylor comes down the street to see what we are doing. We tell her, I remember we had made up some play where we were wizards or something, not too sure. Anyways, she tells us that's dumb, and that she doesn't want to play that, so we say okay then, don't play with us, and we continue playing. She goes home. 5 minutes later, Dan comes down the street and walks up Sam's driveway. He calls us over, and being kids responding to adults, we head over to see what's up. I hear you're excluding my daughter, ladies. You know that's unacceptable. Actually, we told her she could play, but she said she didn't want to play our game, Sam tries to explain. Well, then change your game so she can play. He yells at us. I will not have selfish kids making my daughter cry, and I will tell your mother you are excluding her if you don't play something Taylor wants. Long story short, because we were terrified of this ex-army monstrosity of a dad, we changed our game reluctantly. Things like this happened so often, it's hard to count. He terrified us. I guess I'll do one more, although I have dozens in my mind. This time, I'm about 13. I've always been a good student and made straight A's. I also suffer from extreme anxiety, and during this time, I was super skinny because I physically couldn't get myself to eat due to this anxiety. Taylor and Caitlin have always been bigger girls, which has been no big deal. They also were C and B students, but again, who cares? Well, Entitled Parents did. I was over at their house one day just watching a movie, and they invited me to eat dinner with them. We all sat down at the table and began to eat. Entitled Parents Karen and Dan look at each other, and Dan asks me, "How are your grades doing? You're doing well in math, I hear." Not wanting to be rude, I tell him, "Yes, I'm doing well, but say no more." He then asks, "Well, what are your grades?" I tell him all A's, and he looks at Karen. I think you should let our girls have your homework, or do their homework for them. After all, you're supposed to be in Caitlin's grade, so you probably should do her work. I had skipped a grade, so I was in the level directly between the two daughters. Entitled Parents continued to pester me about cheating their girls to better grades, and I told them I didn't feel comfortable with that. Entitled Kids started saying that I had to help them because we were neighbors and I owed them. This whole family seems to think that where you live dictates who you help, which I don't agree with. Either way, I refused and they finally let it go. I then reached for another taco, as they were good and I was hungry. Karen looks at me and says, "How do you stay so skinny and eat like that?" I immediately drew my hand back in shame. She continues, "My daughters deserve to look like you. I make them eat less and they are still fat. You're making them feel uncomfortable by eating so much." I didn't eat again for the rest of the night. I went home and told my mom what happened. She then went to talk to Entitled Parents about it the next day, and they told her I was lying. She knew they were lying, as the whole family was full of crap, but decided to avoid the drama and just walked away. In short, this family decided that because I was their neighbor and objectively better than their daughters, I had to do everything I could to make them be like me. Taylor ended up in later years going psycho and bullying me to the point I still have PTSD, and Caitlin is a pathological liar. Turned out to be real peaches, they did. Posted by user Latina Cinderella. Titled, Rocker, entitled parent, refuses to believe Freddie Mercury was bisexual. This one happened last year, but every time I remember, I can't stop laughing. It was June, aka Pride Month, and I was in one of those independent bookstores/music stores, looking through the book novelties when I heard shouting coming from the music section. My inner gossiper took over me, and I decided to see what was going on. Picture this, a middle-aged man using sunglasses and a black leather jacket shouting to a poor store employee. At his side, a teenager that looked like she wanted the earth to swallow her whole, and a very distracted child looking at some colorful album covers. He was saying something like this: "Why is this here? Stop trying to make everything frickin' gay. What is it with this stupid gay invasion? Stop ruining everything." What was the problem, you ask? Well, the store had a special Pride vinyl display, with its center being 4 Queen albums, which our entitled parent was furiously pointing at. Cue to the next conversation. I don't remember all of it, so I'm just writing the main points. Store employee says, "Sir, Freddie Mercury is one of the most influential gay artists in history. Stop lying. Do you know who is Mary Austin? The frickin' love of his life? The current owner of his mansion? She who owns half of the Queen royalties. Mercury was no gay, you idiot." Dad, he was. He lived with a man his whole life. Can we just go? Well, that's a stupid history some greedy gay guy made because he wanted money and fame, and all the other dump queers followed. You need to take this down right now. Sir, I can't do that, and if you continue acting this way, I will call security. I won't leave this store until you stop disrespecting rock music. The guy was red, and you could see his forehead veins. Okay, I'm leaving and calling Mum. You can embarrass her yourself alone. Bro, come. The girl took the little kid and basically ran out of there. I am sure the father wanted to continue fighting, but when he saw the daughter going away, he went right behind her. The poor store employee looked so defeated, and I could see how he asked for a break to his manager. I was there for about 15 minutes and then left with some books. Not the dad nor the daughter came back in at that time, so I don't know what happened to them. I'm just hoping he didn't take his shouting to another store. Thanks for reading, guys. Posted by user AdrianKJ2001, titled, My dad makes us give him our underwear so he can figure out which one of us clogged the toilet. I'm not sure this one belongs on this sub, but I'm still really shaken up by it, and I need to put this somewhere people will actually read it. My dad has had a few quote-unquote incidents in the past, including yelling at an Amtrak employee and insulting me and my sister, but this was by far his worst one. My dad discovered that the toilet was clogged in the morning. He asked me and my sister who did it, and neither of us did, so we said no. He told us that he knew it was one of us because there's blood in the toilet, and no one else here gets periods. Please note that while I am AFAB, neither of my sisters or I were on our period. He at first just grounded us to our rooms, but the more we didn't say anything, the angrier and more entitled that he got. He proceeded to force us to stand in the hall outside of the restroom until one of us confessed, saying that he deserved answers. We were not allowed to leave to use the other bathroom or to get something to eat. We were not allowed to talk or sit down. He periodically went by and interrogated us, stepping into our personal space and trying to intimidate us. This went on for about 1 to 2 hours, maybe longer. At one point, he was interrogating us, and I started crying and hyperventilating. He scoffed and said, "You wouldn't be crying if you were innocent." He then got up in my face and stared me down. I closed my eyes. He was so close I could feel his breath on my face. Eventually, he scoffed again and went away. My sister and I whispered to each other, telling each other that we didn't do it. We debated just having one of us confess anyway, but decided that we would face him together, truthfully. Another 15 minutes goes by, and my dad comes back. He tells us that since neither of us would tell him who did it, we would have to change out of our underwear and he'd inspect it for blood, and whoever was on their period was the one who clogged the toilet. I'm sorry, what? I initially refused, but I was too scared to do anything except softly say no. He got even more ticked and said that if I didn't, he'd take it as an admission of guilt. I know you guys are probably expecting me to put up a fight, but at this point I was starving and just wanted it over with so I could eat, so me and my sister complied. I wasn't wearing any underwear, it was a Sunday morning and I was in my pajamas, so he made me put on a pair of his pants so he could look at mine. He inspected and obviously found nothing because neither of us were on our periods. He then decides that, instead of him, God forbid being wrong about something, we must be using tampons, and that's why there was no blood, ? I suggested that maybe someone had cut themselves shaving. He glared at me and said in an incredibly condescending voice, "Really? That's what you think happened?" Eventually, my brother came home, and my dad gave up and let us go, citing some bullcrap like, "You now have permission to go make food." I'm not sure if it was because he came to his senses or because he didn't want to punish us like that in front of other people, but I really didn't care. I was just glad that nothing else happened and I could go hide under my covers in my bedroom and cry. I didn't end up eating breakfast that day, and he basically ignored us the rest of the time that we were there. Posted by user TB72, titled, "Entitled Mum tells me she lives in my house after refusing to leave my property. EM is Entitled Mum, CD is Chill Dad, LB is Little Brat. So I live on a river, and it's a very popular place during the summer. I have some riverfront property and my house looks onto the river across the street. I have always had problems with people littering and destroying my review front property, so I try to make it look secluded. But this made it worse. Usually, I would just have to tell people that they are on private property and point at the several signs and they would leave. But some people are different. Well, today we had a different person. At around 12:45, I saw Entitled Mother and a little boy waltz right onto my property, right past the 2 no trespassing signs. At first, I thought they didn't see the signs, and so I went down to tell them how it's private property. I say, "Hey ma'am, could you please go somewhere else to swim?" "What? No, we got here first." That's not my problem." "Well then leave us alone." "But this is private property." "Yeah, I know." And she points at the sign. "So, could you leave?" "Ugh, no." And then she rolls her eyes. "But even you said it's private property." At this point, I was getting really frustrated because she even admits that it was private property. But what she said next made me ticked. She's like, "Yeah, I own this property. Can't you see my house?" And she points at my house. "Lady, that's my house. Now leave before I call the police." I take a step closer, hoping that she'll back off. I couldn't be more wrong. "Get away from my son, you pedo." I had no words for this, so I called the police. The police show up and start talking to us. PO is police officer, and they say, "So, what's the problem, sir?" "This man is trespassing and trying to take advantage of my son." Police officer looks at me with that, "Sorry man," look, and I reciprocate. I say, "Look lady, I have my keys on me, so if you want to try to say that's your house, we can test it out now." "Ugh, that's stupid, I don't need to prove anything." "Well, I'll go show the police that I live there." Me, police officer, and Entitled Mother with little boy walk up to my house, and I open the door with my key and unlock my car in the driveway. Entitled Mother tells the police officer that I stole her keys, and he tells her to leave. Edit: I've been getting a lot of questions about Chill Dad. I forgot to mention his part, but here it is. Entitled Mother called Chill Dad, trying to get him to confirm to the police officer that they lived in my house. He told her to let it go and leave. He then picked them up. The end. Alright, and I think that's where we're going to leave today's episode, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the content today. If you guys loved watching it as much as I loved making it, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel already if you haven't. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below, maybe like the video, who knows. I'd also like to take this time to thank my awesome Patreon and channel members. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be homeless on the streets of Ireland, crying, Irish dancing all over town. It would just be a mess. But no, for real, you guys are up on the screen now. Thank each and every one of you guys. And if you personally want to join the club yourself, there are links down in the description below. There's also the join button next to the subscribe button. Small monthly fee, but hey, it goes a long way to help me create more awesome content. Well, with that said, guys, I hope you do have a lovely day, night, sleep, evening, day at work, day at school, whatever you're up to. I hope you keep awesome today. You're looking amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.